and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you're just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you're tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Flown letter. Peace.
Young
Be unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Hey man, hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Man, I'm starting to put together this timeline. Hey, shout out that boy Dietrich from the UK, man. Hey, I'm putting together a timeline here, man. I'm starting to realize there's a lot of stuff that they've been telling us. You know what I'm saying? It don't even sound right. We just put together the Marco Polo storyline for you and how Marco Polo was the first black Venetian agent. Marco Polo was a mulatto, right? From the Amorites. The Amorites is what you calling the Italians. They are the muscle for these Hamites, these burnt black guys that the Pope be kissing their shoes. They the muscle. So let me go back because I'm starting to realize some of the stuff that Christopher Columbus was saying in his diaries about how we was the nice part might have been right. You know, we was nice. Nice really means stupid in their language, though. Right? He said we was nice guys. Jacking us would be like taking candy from a baby. This what he in a synopsis what he said in his diaries. But I'm starting to believe that was a bunch of crap. They said we was unarmed. Oh, this is a bunch of crap. I'm starting to believe because we had advanced technology over here before 1492. And then later the World's Fair, all this stuff. So I'm starting to believe that, and then I found storylines about the Star Forts having missile technology, missile systems way back then. The Moors had this technology. And so I'm starting to realize that the storyline that we was, the reason why they trying to say that we was unarmed or we was so easy is that plays with the narrative of they were savages. So under the doctrine of discovery and the sanctums and the dom diversis and all these other papacies they passed to steal our land, they could be classified as savages if they was unarmed. They could be classified as savages if they was in thongs and spears when we came over here. We wasn't in no thongs and spears. That's a bunch of crap. We had advanced castles and everything over here. They robbed our castles. We already got into that. The Tacoma people of Florida, they said that these people were 8 and 7, 8, 9 foot tall. Now I'm starting to realize why the Orlando Magics wanted to get Shaq so bad. Like this shit is crazy. I'm telling you, man. Like it might sound crazy what I'm saying, but they can't. They said they saw these guys were giants. And then what they paint everybody, they try to switch all of our ancestors out when you go type them in online. They try to switch them out with all the Huns and other people that they came to try to replace us with, like the Siberians, these Chinese immigrants that were working on the railroads. They sent these people to Indian training schools, train them to be like this, so they can replace us with them. It's called it's a part of colonialism. It's a strategy. Replace the native population and then wipe them out. They lied like the Tacoma people went missing, but they really blended and became the Seminoles later. But the Tacoma people are still down there riding around in dunks with gold teeth in their mouth. They still down there, and those dreadlock flaps that you guys be wearing down there, that's an ancient hairstyle. I can show you. Matter of fact, I'm putting together a presentation where I'm gonna show the images and some of the hairstyle, all that we used to wear on the land, and how these people, the Tacoma people and the Washita people, really are the same exact people. That's what they don't want to tell you. That's what they don't want to tell you. And I'm putting together a storyline of who came, like the French, the Spanish first, then the French, right? Then I think it was the Europeans after that. But I'm putting together that timeline too. But I'm starting to realize the storyline they giving us about we was unarmed savages that don't even line up, man. When with the Tartarian civilization, where we seeing castles and shit and forts with cannon systems. They tore down all the cannons. The Moors had cannon. Then let me break this down for you. See, this is how I know that the storyline is bullshit, because that when the Igigis landed in California and started teaching their children who became the Moors, right? They gave them gunpowder. We had gunpowder already over here. So they trying to say that Marco Polo he might have went over there to the Mongolian Empire to get the gunpowder, but the Mongolians were mixed with us. The ones that they were dark skinned. Hoshin them were dark skinned. They like to show you every time they show you on TV, books, and you Google something, they don't never want to show you Nubians. They always show you the lightest people in every part of the world, and they say these are the original people. If you go to Australia and pull up the original people, they want to show you some light-skinned people, when the original people are the dark-skinned people with the straight hair that they showed you in Crocodile Dundee. They asked, hey, can we eat this guy? Those are the original people. They always show you the lightest people in India. They don't show you the original Twa people that was already in India. They don't show you the original people that mix with the Sands in the Twa that's in India. They live in South India. They speak Tamil. You got Gujarati, Tamil, Canada. It's like almost 100 languages in India, with the national language being I think Hindu. But this the thing. We part Hindus. That's what make us Moors. The tribe of Shabazz. The tribe of Shabazz, right? Check that out. Prince Shabazz. We are the tribe of Shabazz. Shabazz or Shabazar. They really are starting to realize that they wasn't in Africa, that they started in South America. And that's where the Yaku experiment was going down in Argentina. And then Shabazar or Shabazz, they became later the Moors too. But what happens is, let me talk about the gunpowder part. All right, so these Igigis, they brought the science of gunpowder and the science of plutonium explosives, bombs. And when they came, they set up the schools over here and began teaching us over here how to use the TNT, the dynamite, the explosives, all them explosives. So we already had dynamite and explosives over here first. It was over here first because the Igigis. So the storyline about us being on arm, I think that's bullshit. We already had dynamite. We was already advanced over here. Another thing, because the Marco Polo is the key pivot point because, like I said, Ockmos and Cockmos, about around 3,800 years ago, chased these dirty Moors off from over here, right? Out of America, because Ockmos and Cockmos really was in America. Mesopotamia really was up and down the Mississippi River. The land of Canaan really is Chicago. Ohio really is the city of Aura. Utah really is dealing with the land of Ptah and the tribe of Judah. Goes out like all these lands. They don't want to tell you that this was the original Israel. This is Israel. And Israel really breaks down to a covenant that was set up between Ra, who is Murdoch, and Inanna, who they call ISIS, right? Because Murdoch is the one, and all this is origin from the city of Mu. When the city of Mu fell during the Pyramid Wars with Murdoch them and Ninurtu them, right? And they migrated to this land, and then eventually Tahuti passed it to Inanna, and it became known as Maryland or Tamari, which is Maryland, which is why they call Maryland is with Maryland, right? And that's why it was under the matriarch dealing with Inanna, right? ISIS. And then the third being that stepped in to pretty much stamp this covenant or this contract was the El. The El is Anu. Anu is Murdoch's granddad and Inanna's granddad. And so the people of this land, and keep in mind, one of the names for Enki is Israel. Another name for Enki is Nod, or Nud, which is another name for this land, the land of Nod, meaning you people have been rocked to sleep. The real Moors, or the original people of this land, have been rocked to sleep, right? So keep in mind, one of Enki names is Israel, right? But it breaks down into three gods because it was dealing with a covenant made with Inanna, Murdoch, who was over the military and police of the Tamaray and the police department, who was ran by you can go look these people up. They call the Magi's, right? Which was us, the ancient Egyptians, the Afar people that was already on this land, and they called us over here the Shoshone, right? The Shoshone people, right? And we got a tape coming out on that too, breaking down Ben York marrying Sachakawea and her son, and having a son, right? We're gonna get into that. But yeah, where was I going? Yeah, so all Mesopotamia, ancient Mesopotamia is over here, up and down the Mississippi River. That's what they don't want to tell you. The Indus Valley is really the Colorado River. Colorado River is really the Indian River. And that land was over there. It was a matriarch land, and it passed down all the way coming down from Inanna to Queen, or to because they call her a queen, but she really was Empress Khalifa, who's really California's named after. All this stuff is information you should already know. But yeah, but in this land of Nod, these Igigis taught their children, who became mighty man. Genesis chapter 6, when the Igigis came from Mars and mixed in with the humans, and this is what the whole beef was about. One of the beefs, and but they taught these children different things. Like I was telling you, they taught them astronomy, or how to use the stars. Shamgazu, who was one of the leaders of these Igigis, who became known as the Nephilims. Right, that's why you got the city of Los Angeles in California, Los Angeles. Right, that's why they had the Battle of Los Angeles. Really, that was the mother plane. They were shooting at the mother plane, 1942. That's when they arrested Elijah Muhammad, I think. Right after that, they questioned him about it. But the storyline, we got to erase the whole storyline they gave us and create our own new storyline based on what we got now, because I believe everything they said was a lie. Everything they said, like, because you tell one lie, you got to tell her nothing. Everything they said is based on fruits of a poisonous tree. Their whole storyline. We got to get them back their whole storyline and just create our own based on the information that we came out with now. But hit that like, hit that subscribe button. I brought you on right now to talk to you about how they conquered the world with the cross. Not to cross the cross that they hold and put over the they tomb, over the dead, in the graveyard, because that's really what cross represents, death, right? The Ankh represents life. We had the Ankh, right? The Ankh, which is really Tahuti, right? Ankh is Tahuti, but the Ankh represented life, and the cross represented death. But they conquered the world with the cross, and what I mean by that is they crossed people out, right? Because for the right amount of money, it'd be your own people on you, right? So when Marco Polo went over to the Mongolian Empire, he turned the two brothers against each other. He turned the Khans against each other, whispering something in this guy's ear, whispered. That's what Nakash do, the whisperer, the serpent in the garden, right? He whispers, he a snake. So and when we say that, we're not saying that all the snakes are bad, because in our culture, snakes, especially the Naga dragon beings, they were benevolent. So not all snakes are bad, right? Some snakes get rid of rats. We don't like rats. Right? We can't stand rats. You know what I'm saying? Rats who talk to the enemy. Rats who play in the game and be a part of the game, and then tell to get themselves out of trouble. Tell on their family and loved ones to get themselves out of trouble. But like I said, they didn't come around with conquer us with a gun. They didn't come over here full blast with guns and taking our shit like they want to tell you. They came over here and weed and got in bed with us. They got in with us. They joined on with us. You can't beat them, join them, man. It's infiltration at its highest format. How did they do it? Let me tell you how they did it. It was this chick. Well, I don't want to say it like that because I feel like, but it was because Mariah say that based on her name, Pocahontas, it means a playful one. But her real name was Montaoka. And they put, what these guys did is the Venetians, what they put their plays, but they sent some Macs, the Moors, Macs. You're talking about when you say Macs, you're talking about Moors, because the Moors were the first pimps, right? Go get a book called Night in the Moorish Harlem, of how the Moors started pulling the Caucasian women as out of the caves in Georgia in the Caucasus Mountains in the 900 BC, and start shaving them up and then putting them in Harlems and then using them as prostitutes. And they start sleeping with them and having babies with them, some of these dirty Moors, and that created your mulattoes, people. That's tiny Moors, your half your Barack Obamas, right? And so these children end up inheriting some of the wealth and working their way up into that's over there though. And we're talking about in Europe, right? In Asia. That's where you get Caucasians. Caucasia, it's go look up Caucasus Mountains. We can get into why they call that Caucasus Mountains, right? But yeah, so that's where it starts at. When they start to get pulled back into our system is when these dirty freaky Moors over start pulling these people out the caves and shaving them up. And you can pull up pictures. Some of these Moors were dressed like, with the zoot suits, with the hats, with the feathers in them. And with how the pimps dress now, like Bishop Magic Done One and all of them, with the fur coats and all that. These dirty Moors that was doing this, that was enslaving these people, dressed like that. And they would come to show to they would have these balls, these player balls. They still do it now. These so-called pimps. They had these Moors used to have these player balls in England. They used to pull up in chariots that got gold rims on them and all fixed up, just like you ride around right now with your car with rims and the interior did and all that. These Moors had these chariots fixed up like that. They would have fancy horses, gold, this and that, because they were making a lot of money off prostituting these these women that they had snatched, these pale women they had snatched out the caves. They was actually paying, it was actually trappers or catchers. They used to ride camels. They go into, and these Muslims, they go catch these people and then bring them and sell them at the slave trade, right? And when these rich Moors could buy these women, these Caucasian women at the slave trade, then they would start buying a whole bunch of them and just putting them into a house called a Harlem. Go look, it's several books out, but it's a book called Night in the Moorish Harlem. Go get that book. I got it in the garage, right? So they become your first pimps, and then the bottom girl will be there, the Moorish wife. She become the house or the madam. A madam was she over these house, and then at some point, some of the Moors, when they would come, they would give them at these bathhouses and things. They would give them a tip. When they get in the tip, medals, right? So once that started happening, these Moors that was over these bathhouses and these Harlems, they started taking the money from these Caucasian women and say, because they didn't want them to have no money. So they take it all. That's where it trickled down to now the pimps don't want the women to have no money. Most old school hard style pimps, they could take all the money from their girls and keep it. And they just, puppet them like that. So the Moors started doing it, taking all the money. And so they started making a lot of money making these. So once they got the bright idea that, hey, these people get them tips, they started charging other Moors to come to these bathhouses with these women, which was really brothels and brothel bathhouses, right? And they started it became a business. It became a business in England and in Europe, right? England is Europe, right? Became a business in Europe, right? So that was the first wave of them coming back out to Akmos, chased them from over here 3,800 years ago. See, they said these dirty Venetians said that they got exiled from America, right? And then that's what they whole get back. They whole get back for taking over the whole world monetary system is, to get back at us ultimately. That's why we out of all the people around the world, we done like we getting done. We the ones that being reclassified, our land stolen, everybody else living off us. That's why we getting done like that, because the people who orchestrating this, they blame us for kicking them out from over here. Right? That's another part of it. But and we'll get into that too, because you're talking about the Hamites. Because Noah was over here in the Garden of Eden and built the gopher. Gopher wood is found in Florida. All the ingredients for Noah's Ark is found in Florida. We already put all that information out. Let's go look all that up. What book on? Oh yeah, it's on Amazon. That's where I got it from. That book, Night in the Moorish Harlem, is on Amazon. That's where I ordered it from. What else I was gonna say? Yeah, so you're talking about the Macs in Ireland. So you see the MacDonald, MacDoodle, all you talking about Moors, the Moors over there, right? But they were the ones that were doing the pimping and having the players' balls. And then once the other side of it is them when they saw that how they could get the women, they started kidnapping the men out of Caucasus Mountains, and they started shaving them up and putting them armor on, building them, getting them some makeshift armor, right? These became your Vikings. They give them, but Hannibal and them, the Africans really were the first Vikings. But these people that were getting trained by these dirty Moors, they put them on, armor and gave them a sword, showed them how to fight, and they were barbaric and didn't take baths. They were really a gruesome type, grotesque type guys, man. When they built a milk, so they trained these guys as mercenaries. They trained these Caucasian guys as mercenaries to go around and get at other Moors that owed them money. If you didn't want to pay the Venetian bankers the loan out, they had sent these goons and goblins in that they trained up, and they had come in there like savages and just pretty much tear the place apart. and they don't give a dang up. They march right in there head first. These guys they train. They come in there head first, speeding up to yeah. So they were the first ones that's doing it, and that's why if you study the pimpologies and all that, I got all those books. The Iceberg Slims. I got all of his books. I got the Pimpin' Kens. All of, I got a book called the Pimpin's Playbook. But they like dealing with white women, so-called pale women, more than because that's the origin of it. That's the I got a whole tape called the Moors Started Pimping in the Moor Science playlist. You can, so I don't want to go too much in on it, but I got a whole 2 hour long tape on breaking the whole storyline down of how the Moors became your pimps and your put it in my pocket, pretty much what it stands for. But we leading up to talking about the double cross. So yeah, so when they came, they didn't go around like they tell you, like they were just guerrilla pimping or guerrilla just coming around attacking everybody, taking their shit, destroying them. Nah, they use different methods. The main method is biological warfare, which was an extraterrestrial, which they got from extraterrestrials. The extraterrestrials use biological warfare to wipe us out. I got a tape coming out on it, on the different ways of they came over here, boom, then all of a sudden smallpox. And then if you this is the crazy part about it. If you trace who got the patent on smallpox right now today, you can trace that same family back to the Venetians and the same people who sent the people over here with the Virginia Company and the East Indian, all these different companies. You can trace the same company back that own they still own the damn patent. You trace the family, you can trace them back to the same company that's when they first came in smallpox. So it must have been some type of engineered warfare that they already knew, because they gave us gifts, and in these gifts, the shit was on the gifts. So they knew they trying to lie, like they say that we ain't know that it was gonna happen. It just we already was immune to it. So when we came, they just got it because they actually intentionally pausing us. Just like the Empress said when they won the land in 1848 in the Supreme Court, the Turner versus United States, they went in and paused in their water supplies. These people pausing their water supplies right after they won in court. And look, man, you got to understand who we dealing with. These people pausing these people water supplies and wipe them out almost. Yeah, we dealing with some people that ain't gonna come at you direct. They ain't come at us direct gunplay. They burned us. They all of a sudden everything going good, and then the building, one of our ancient buildings, just the whole street burned down. And they use some type of fluid that makes sure it burned down to the ground in the middle of the night. A molasses truck, a truck hit a molasses tower. It burned down the whole town, and about like a dam blood burst out of nowhere and wipe out the whole towns. It wasn't no straight up, let's run it. Now they did do some massacres. It was a whole bunch of where they massacred our people and caught us off guard. That happened a lot too. Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Atlanta massacre, right? We could go down the line on them. Lake Lanier, right? All that was the dam bust. So like me and Raw got a tape out called Organic Warfare, right? So they use organic warfare. They use the double cross. They used the cross where they turned us against each other, just like they did when they first where they got all these tactics from was the Marco Polo mission. Marco Polo's mission, they learned about the fiat currencies monopoly system. That's how they got the strategy, and that's how they brought that fiat monetary system eventually over here. And it's the same monetary system that the Mongoloids started to fund all of their armies and shit back in the 1271. So pretty much they were locked in the caves in the hills, because that's what Europe really means. You rope. They were roped once Akmos and Cockmos blindfolded them and cable told them, and they put them on the boats. The Moors put them on the boats and sailed them in circles, and then sailed them to the Caucasus Mountains. Eventually, put them on to the Caucasus Mountains. Eventually, they got locked in Europe for 1,000 years. Essentially, this is what that I think the timeline is off when they say 1271, because the devil got released after that 1,000 years was up. The devil got released from the pit, and then that's when Marco Polo sailed. They wasn't selling nowhere. They ain't had nothing going on for a whole 1,000 years from when Akmos and them kicked them out from over here. And then when Marco Polo is the first wave that they get, where they start this game to take over the whole world. 1271. That's when they first started. This is before. Keep in mind that Papists really was they was really had already infiltrated the church in 325 AD. Where they really set it up. The church is they justifiable moral arm to what they was doing, with the doctrine of discovery coming later, sanctums, papal bulls, the romantic pontifex. What else? You got the Accord, the King's Accord. I think it was 1531, where they turned the church over to the king. Sanctums put all souls under the Pope. And pretty much all of these bulls ran down, what were orchestrated by the black hand in the background, because they had infiltrated the church heavenly. And pretty much it's pretty much they baby, because they connect with the Romans, because once they got kicked out from over here, because the Hyksos are Romans. They roam around. The Arabia, which means really like Arabia means car, but it's dealing with the motion to move around, right? So they are Arabs. These Hamites, these burnt black Hamites, they are the real Arabs, because they were the ones that were roaming around once they got lost their home. And their front mans is the Canaanites. And the main group that they were using as their muscle is called the Amorites. That's one of the sons of Canaan. And you call these people Italians today. They are not the original Italians. The original Italians are dark-skinned Moors, black with curly hair. You can pull them up too. The Corsicans. They are part of the Corsicans. Are part of one of the Black Hand families. Go pull up the Corsican flag. You'll see that they got 4 Moorish heads with a red cross on it. Then pull up the red cross. Then pull up what Rothschild really means, and you'll figure out that the Rothschilds are trustees and frontmans for a darker Black Hand family. And then pull up the Switzerland flag. Pull up the Switzerland flag, connect that. Then pull up the Knights of Templar flag, put that next to it. Then pull up the Umbrella Corporation logo, put that next to it. What was the Umbrella Corporation? They tell you is a movie and Residential Evil. Nah, the Umbrella Corporation is the Knights of Templar, who are alchemists. That's why they control the drug trade. The Knights of Templar control the drug trade. The CIA is another name for them. Crooks in action. Call themselves the Central Intelligence, but they're really crooks in action. And if you play the storyline back of who all pumping the dope into our country to keep us in a subliminal state of psychological warfare, you'll trace it back to these alphabet boys, the crooks in action. Dealing with Fidel Castro, dealing with Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was their plug. Dealing with Lolo Sorrento with in Indonesia with the opium trade, who's Obama's stepdad, just so happened. Obama's mother's CIA. I know we're going everywhere with this, but we're dealing with the cross. They conquered the world with the cross. They didn't conquer with no guns and no dang. They conquered with the cross and the Bible, man. Later, they brought the Bible in later. First, it was the cross. They took the cross around, and I'm saying they came holding the cross, but the cross is really a psychological warfare where they turn us against each other, and it's still going on right now. It's we still killing each other right now, and it's over dumb shit. Not even shit that, not even political shit. Not no shit about, hey, this dude got our land. I'm smoking him because he stole my land. You ain't smoking the guy because he stole your land. You smoking a guy because he said something on the internet about you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't smoking a guy because he stole your land or nothing like that. It's crazy. What's the name of what again? What's the name of what again, James? Shout out that boy James Monroe. What's the name of what, James? The book is called Night in the Moorish Harlem. Night in the Moorish Harlem. There's several different versions of it, but you get the idea just by looking at the cover. And you can get the illustrated one. It'll show you the Moors holding these pale women on leashes and selling them. We can't really show that. We can't really show that because they, you know, they don't like that type of that footage, right? To know that the whole storyline that they giving you about us is not our storyline. It's the Slavic storyline. It's the Siberian storyline of the slave trade. All that, they were the ones being enslaved and traded by the Berber Moors from West Africa. Man, these guys get. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, look, they will raid the European pale man villages and kidnap all their women and children and execute the man. The ones that they might keep some and enslave them if they can turn them, but most time they just kidnap the women and children and then sold them into slavery. The people that got brought over here as slaves were not us. We was already over here. They brought King George and them, really was King George the First who started it. They brought prisoners, convicts over here to work on the tobacco farms for them. And then they turned on King George and them, the British. Britain means Barith, the Great Covenant. The Great Britain means the Great Covenant. What covenant? The Moorish Empire. I'm telling you, man. It's the game, and that empire got usurped in 1870. By 1871, the Rothschilds being puppeted by the black nobility from the Venetian bankers, eventually infiltrated King George III and them, and poisoned all of them under the night with the Knights of Templar and arsenics, and wiped all of them out, wiped his whole family out, and then replaced them with a usurped family, which starts with Queen Victoria. That's when they got replaced, right there with Queen Victoria. But going back to the American Revolution from 1715 to 1773, you're talking about white convicts who getting bad deals from the dirty Moors. And they get mad, and the Boston Tea Party, all this happened. Blood of Crispus Attucks. And then they start a war, the American Revolution, against the dirty Moors in Britain. Once and some people over here who were really children of these Great Britain guys who mixed in with us, they called the black loyalists. They chose to help the Britain guys out fight against these white convicts. Some of our people was helping the white convicts because they ain't like the dirty Moors from Britain. And then once the war was over, you know what they did? Once they got King George and them, the third and them off their back, they really didn't get them off their back because King George and them still locked them into a financial, psychological debt game. But once they thought they got King George out their back, they then turned their energy on us. These convicts turned their energy on us and started taking land. And then once, I'm gonna tell you how dirty King George and them is, going all the way back to King James, who sent his goons over anyway. King James the First is the one that sent the goons over. But Yeah, the King James Bible. Put that in your pipe, smoke that. 46 Freemasons, etc. You already know. But the what I was gonna say, these guys going back to King George III, they turned these convicts. Once King George III, the convicts, they used really King George and them used the convicts to turn them on us to steal more land. Because United States Corp, they was under United States Corp stealing all that land. The 13 colonies really is United States Corp stealing that land. So really they stole land for the dirty Moors. They still when they thought that they was breaking free from the dirty Moors, they didn't break free from them. The war just ended with them being under financial debt. And in order to pay that debt, they needed more land and more resources. So they started taking ours, setting up when George Washington sent that letter to I think it's to the Muhammad, to the Sultan of Morocco, that was a cover-up and a game. George Washington was an agent the whole time. They was already planning to take our shit. He was just trying to stall the people over there into what they was doing. I'm telling you, man, he was trying to stall our people, our family who was controlling the outposts over there on the Ivory Coast, which they call it Morocco. He was trying to stall them, right? He wasn't putting them on to the game that they had heavily infiltrated us. Yeah, King James was the one that sent the goons over here. He was part owner or the overseer of the Virginia Company. You know, Plymouth Rock, then we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. And when Plymouth Rock landed on us, they poisoned us and started wiping us out. And they burned our place. They burned all of our buildings down. And they joined, married into us and had children, and then turned those children to their culture, the patriarch, and got rid of the matriarch system, right? We really was matriarch. The whole world really was matriarch. But Enlil's game, because Enlil come with the patriarch game, and that's why the whole earth is being forced into this. Oh, man is in power, man power, man this, man that. And the men and some men are so scared of the feminine taking control back over the planet that they complaining about it. Some suckers are complaining about it. Oh man, y'all are feminized and this and that. Oh man, see, you just a sucker. You know what the covenant was? You know who Murdoch was? Somebody got a free Dr. Malachi York. Yeah, free Malachi York, master teacher. Right? Shout out that person with that tag. Yeah, but Murdoch was the enforcer for our Nana. Eventually, at first they were beefing, and then after a while, the beef they joined together, and Murdoch became the enforcer of this land, and he trained his own military. One of the names, go look up the god Montu. Montu is really Murdoch. That's why he got the same headdress. Murdoch, Montu is another name for rock, right? Montu became Montu, the god Montu, who was really Murdoch, taught these humans how to fight. And it became known as the Montu art form eventually, right? And then karate and all these other names that they got now. But the origin of it is the Montu art form from the god Montu, who trained the Afar people, the Magi warriors, who were ninjas. They fight like ninjas. That's where your ninjas and all that come from. It come from these Magi's, who really descend from these other beings called the ninja beings, who came from Meldic, who evoluted out of the Bermuda Triangle and mixed in with humans. But the Afar, who became the Magi knights or warriors, who were the first ones chasing these vampire guys from over here. The vampires, the ones that was eating out these burnt black Hamites who had got mixed with the Nomos, and they were blood drinkers and eating children. And they got chased off from over here. That's what happened. These dirty Venetians. They got statues of them eating the babies over in London, in England. We show pictures of that. But yeah, I know we all over the place. But yeah, so but it was the double cross. They didn't oh yeah, I was talking about the Pocahontas thing. The Pocahontas thing is when Montaoka, right? She was a Parliament princess of the Iroquois and the five nations that her father was the Parliament chief over. So that's why they wanted to pick in order to get into this land. They got in bed with Pocahontas, with Montaoka, through John Rolfe, right? And they tell you in the storyline about John Smith because both John Rolfe and John Smith, who were dark-skinned dudes, not no dang white guys. They paint everybody white, really. How they do us, but they were dark-skinned brothers who were Macs, pimps. Romeo, these guys, these Moors from Europe, when they came over, they could write. They wrote poetry and shit like that. They was I wrote you a poem, and Romeo and Juliet, like Shakespeare. These Shakespeare Moors. So they come over with these poems and shit to Pocahontas, win her over. John Rolfe eventually take her back to Graceland, England. Now put this together. You think that a Nubian from America, a Moor from America, dark-skinned Nubian lady, left on a boat with a bunch of Caucasian pale-faced guys? No. She left with a bunch of dark-skinned guys that look like us, but they ain't us. And they put a baby in her, and then they threw her overboard, got rid of her to silence her, essentially, is what one of the stories we give. Rod says she was able to swim when they threw her overboard. She swam out, and then a secret order, essentially, the Eastern Stars got her out and brought her back over here. I heard that part too. We heard perspectives, but the storyline that they try to stick with, because we don't really believe shit they say no more. At this point, they lie about everything. We finding out at this point we don't believe shit they say. But they say her grave is over in England, Graceland, England, right? But they got rid of her, silenced her. What the routine is. You got to silence the witnesses. They come back over here with Thomas Rolfe, who was essentially Pocahontas' son, John Rolfe's son, and he got all his kinfolks with him. So, and by right, since they all his kinfolks, and then he the Parliament prince, essentially, all of his kinfolks get a pass, so they get to set up their own colony over here with all those. So that's how they start to infiltrate us. It wasn't no come in with a gun, blow them up. They didn't come with guns. They had guns, but they didn't really come in with gun to take their shit. They came in and get in bed with them. That's the number one game, man, with the Luciferians. They got in bed with us and set up a colony. And then from that colony, they was able to keep importing people into that colony, making it bigger, saying that, oh yeah, he is third cousin. He Thomas Rolfe's this cousin. She's Thomas Rolfe third, fifth, ain't he? Down the line. So they all getting in here. And then the men and women start marrying. They came in here, start marrying into us, create more Thomas Rolfes, getting more land. Then all of a sudden, now the land started to get fences around it. Now all of a sudden, the land being sold off to with people who got the last name, Jewish last names, essentially. We got people who got names that came from over Europe, and they got, but they in their religion is what start with a J, right? You know what I'm saying? This type of thing, and it's a game to that too, because Judaism wasn't created after 1492. They created that religion from our culture. Y'all going around thinking and doing all of these rituals and thinking that was all a part. A lot of those rituals wasn't even a part of our shit. They created that shit after 1492 and came back over here and brainwashed you with it, right? But a lot of the stuff that you're doing was a part of our culture. Like we didn't eat pork, we didn't. It was a certain dietary the dietary laws and the laws about the commandments were our shit already. It's called the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. We already had that over here in ancient Kemet. So they just took that and watered it down, gave you 10 commandments. They say it's really they say it's really 613. We heard from one perspective of these rules and regulations that they created. Really, it was later though. What was over here though, in our form of, it wasn't a religion, it was just our way of life. It was called Al-Islam. Not Islam, the religion today created after Muhammad got poisoned by Abu Bakr and the Sunnis. Not that religion. I'm talking about Al-Islam civics, the structure of government, how you have a president and then something happened to the president, you got a guy that'll take his place, called the vice president. And then if somebody take the vice president out, you got a guy under him that'll take his place. It's a chain. It's called another word for it. Is it called something good? I'll think of the name of it in a minute. The internal government, not the internal government. It's called the continuity of government. I think that's the name of it. The continuity of government is Islam civics. They based their whole constitution off Islam civics. The Iroquois Confederation, the Articles of Confederates, all based off Islam civics, the laws of Ma'at and the principles. The Islam, Ma'at is a part of Islam. The peace, the justice, and equality. Ma'at really means like justice, like justice, like a balance for peace. So Ma'at can translate into Islam in one diaspora. Because Ma'at, if you practice Ma'at, that means you practice a state of peace. But Murdoch, who was over the police department of Tamaray, this is Tamaray, which you call it America, Amaru, which is really more translated to Moor. Amaru Khan, the land of the Moors, the land of the Amaru people, right? Which is one of the you got to keep in mind all these different names. The reason why we got so many names is because we're dealing with different groups coming over calling us certain shit. The Europeans called us MOO Moors. The Spaniards called us the Amaru people. The French, when they came over, they call us the Amir people. A-M-E-R, the Amir. Then you can see what you got, the Amir Ican, because you got the Ican people down in South America and old Mesoamerica. But remember what I told you about the old Mesopotamia being the old Mississippians culture. Don't forget that, because that's a key pivot point to all the land masses like Superior, Ethiopia Superior being over here. If that means that Ethiopia, if this is Ethiopia Superior, what they call in La Florida, the Florida Republic, really, which they changed into a fictional corporation and a franchise called the State of Florida. This is not the state of Florida. That's United States Franchise Corporation. This is La Florida, the Florida Republic, right? The Ethiopia Superior. That means that Ethiopia was over here first, and then after the Berlin Conference, they moved it over there. A lot of those places that's named over there is named after the Berlin Conference. It was named over here first, and they wiped that out to keep you from knowing all of this. I'm telling you. Yeah, the Amaru Khan people, we are the Amaru Khan people. That's another name that the people called us. The Amaru part comes from the Spaniards. That's another name for, it's a translation of Moor. The Mir, and you know what Mir means? Mir means in the French, when they call us the Amir people, they were calling us seafaring people, people who man the dock. You know what the dock is? That's the beach or the bank. You know what the bank is? It becomes your monetary system. The bank was our monetary system, import and export. That's why the Venetians wanted to take control of these systems. Yeah, the mound builders. We are the mound builders, right? So we can say we using the term MUU more, but like I say, it was different people calling us different things, calling us more, but in a different dialect or different, it's spelled different. But MUU more is the original, and it means the enlightened one, the mound builders. Because all the technology most of the technology in the world is built by us. And then it went around to other places. The advanced sewer systems were built by us, the Moors. And then we took it to England when they was peeing in pots and shitting in pots and throwing it out the window. You don't believe me? Pull up Shakespeare's Dookie pot. They still got it in the museum over there. That's how nasty these people are. If somebody was taking a shit in a pot, you think I'm gonna be keeping? You know what I'm saying? They still got Shakespeare pot in the museum saying that, oh yeah, this is a pot. But you go in there and say, oh, this is a pot Shakespeare's taking shit in, and throw it out the window. That's why that's why the Dark Age happened, where over there they became real sick, and we had to go over there with the pine saw, take the pine tree, the pine saw, the lemons and limes and baking soda over there to neutralize their acidic environment that they created by duking and peeing in these pots and throwing it out the window. It was bad over there. Why you think Africa don't got sewer systems like we got? If they so advanced and they supposed to be the ones that built the real mound builders, why ain't they got advanced sewer systems like we got over here? Because we built that shit. That's why we built the Moors. We dug the underground tunnels. We are the descendants of the Tazizians, the ant race who part of the Gigis who mixed in with us, who taught us how to dig underground tunnels. We are the descendants of the Naga race who came from the planet Nirvana, and landed here and mixed in with us. That's why we wear the coat. That's why we started wearing the cobra on our headdress. That's who taught us how to dig the mounds. Go pull up a king cobra. A king cobra is the only serpent that builds a mound. Go pull it up. You think I'm making this up? Because you got to correlate nature with us. We are part of nature. If you watch nature, you will figure out what's going on and who we were. Another being that influenced us. Yeah. So all that, like I'm thinking that we had the cannons over here first. And they tore them down, all of our star forts. We had shit that like the fusion weapons and all that shit in the 1800s, probably before that. But they got to give you. We was unarmed. We was walking around with thongs and spears, living in teepees, because that justifies the doctrine of discovery and the terrorists. What it's called, the terrorists. I think of it in a minute. The terror is another part of their doctrine of discovery, where they said that the land is considered vacant or nobody's there if these people ain't Christians, right? The nobody's there if these people ain't considered as Christians, so we can take their shit and they savages. So they got to give you the storyline that the TP and all this, we only use TPs when we went hunting and camping. Just like you use a tent right now when you go hunting and camping. We only use teepees then. We had advanced civilizations built from stone and marble and granite that they tore all down and used to build their churches and shit. Yeah. And some of the buildings they left up and just turned into their capital buildings and their administration buildings, because that's what they are. They are administrators. Anything under the Supreme Court is administrative courts. The Supreme Court is really the only rightful court, and they really infiltrated that. Because the Constitution essentially is the supreme law of the land. But what they did is created a second Constitution, which they hijacked in 1789, and then from there created the Judication Act, and then ran all that shit with the federal jurisdiction, and then started really pretty much reclassifying us. Because if you notice in 1848, when the emperors when the Turner heirs won the land from them, And right after that, and at the same time, that's when the Smithsonian Institute was being opened it up and hijacked, because the Smithsonian Institute is one of our castles. They got turned into a museum underground where they got vaults hiding all of our artifacts about us, the Moors, over here in America. But yeah, so we had that Smithsonian Institute was there before 1492. So who was living in what's this TP game they's telling you? I can show it's a whole bunch of Philadelphia, Chicago, all the places where they ran the World Fairs were already built up with advanced granite downtowns made out of granite and stone. But they had to reset us, and they couldn't sell the story of savages and slaves, and they couldn't explain these Siberians building all of this shit. The whole storyline had to be rewrote and regurgitated in order to paint us as coming from Africa, and pretty much the Siberians was over here savages living in teepees with thongs on. That's they got to come with their storyline in order to wipe us out. This is about this is the most satanic and insidious. Like, it's been going on for a while, but the gig is up now. The spell is up. No more spell of Kingu. No more spell of Leviathan. This Leviathan spell that they casted on us. Yeah, see what a lot of that King Tut treasure was transferred through a black market over there to that museum under these black hand families who pretty much try to lay claim to all of our artifacts. But that King Tut treasure was found over in Kentucky. They already unearthing all a plaza in Kentucky right now with pyramids. You heard about that, right? So a lot of what they did is it's a part of one of their games that they swore in the George Washington challenge. And one of the games were misdirection. So in order to misdirect us, they had to take artifacts from over here and then send them over there and then put them on display as if they came from over there. And then tell you, yeah, this is African, but the whole time it's straight from America. That's why they got the Grand Canyon blocked off. All of it. That's why they replaced most of our ancient tribes. See, the reason why they couldn't replace the Hopis, they replaced the Hopis, right, with the Siberians. The real Hopi is the Baja people, which is Tory Lane and them. Tory Lane, them peoples. They the original Dogon people that was over here in this land. But they replaced them, told them they were black Negroes and colors, said that they got wiped out, and then said the Hopi are these guys that built these complexes in over here. But it's a bunch of crap. The Hopis, if you just go, like I say, cross-reference the Dogon culture with the Hopis, and then you put it together. Yeah, right. Kentucky is really King Tut. That's right. And Missouri was Mizraim, and Chicago was the land of Canaan, and Ohio was the city of where the city of Ora was, right? And there were giants on the other side of the Mississippi River. That's what the Smithsonian, because there was giants in the earth in those days. Once in Genesis chapter 6, right? And like I said, Florida really is Ethiopia superior, meaning the first Ethiopia. Georgia is really part of Ethiopia too. That's really what Queen Cleopatra was at. Cleopatra really was in Georgia, and New York was Rome at one point. New York was Rome. That tell you, Utah was the land of Ptah. They still got Memphis, Tennessee. And it's a whole complex down there that they turn into a museum, saying that, oh yeah, well we had just built this. Nah, you ain't just built that shit. Been there for a long ass time. They like to say, oh, we just built this, and if They can't say they just built it. They blow it up with dynamite or use one of those crane balls to knock it down. Yeah, we had mounds in Cairo, right? You got like as in Cairo, Egypt, right? You got Cairo, Illinois, Cairo, Egypt. The Cairo, Illinois is the first Cairo. They put Cairo over there, Egypt over there, because Egypt wasn't even a name of no country. Egypt was not a name of no country until after the Berlin Conference. We didn't even call this Egypt. We called it Tamari, the land of Mary, the land of Inanna. And it was under a covenant through called the Israelite covenant through al-Islam. The Israelite covenant is Isis, which is Inanna, Ra, which is Murdoch, who was the control of the police department, and Inanna was the mayor or the governor. Mayor means dealing with female horse. Inanna was the governor, and Murdoch was the enforcer, and the overseer to the contract was their grandfather Anu. And their people became known, the people of this land became known under that covenant. It's really just a covenant as the Israelites. That the Israelite just means you are part of this covenant or this deal that was made between those three people. The children, you became the children of God. The children of God. Y'all are the children of what they calling God through that covenant and through your DNA as well. The children of Enki. And so they would like to tell when you say that, people think religion, but religion wasn't even around then. With all of the three major world religions, they wasn't even around during this time. And the names, that contract could have another name because those names even come later. Because we're dealing with Inanna, we're dealing with Murdoch. And other cultures, their names become other things. Like a Set, Isis. Murdoch becomes Ra, Amen-Ra, Michael, Melchizedek, El-Kaddish, in Hebrew, in the Quran. So Tahuti becomes Tahuti Ningazida. And then I believe that he was I believe that Tahuti was Imhotep was an incarnation of Tahuti. I believe that Imhotep was an incarnation of Tahuti. Hey, what about Persia? So just think about, like I just said, the ancient Mesopotamia is the old Mississippian culture. We had mounds up and down. That's what they don't want to tell you, man. That's what they don't want to tell you. What else I want to? Texas was. Let's think about it. They said corn origin from America. Corn was in America. They're talking about corn in the Bible, corn. And then they want after we caught on to the game, they say, dang, they realize now they can read. They realize that hold on, corn is indigenous to America. That means that the Bible, all this Bible information is based in America. And then they say, oh yeah, well, then they had to come out and then say, nah, well, we ain't talking about corn. We talking about some other thing. Yeah, y'all shut up. You lying. Hey, when these suckers speak now, when the devil speak now, I tell them, shut up, silence. Silence that sucker. Silence, because he gonna tell a lie. We don't want to hear nothing you gotta say. Shut up. Tell her, hey man, you got the right, the devil got the right to remain silent at this point. We don't want to hear nothing you gotta say. Shut your ass up. We don't want to hear nothing. Everything he said was a lie. Everything he told us. How he came over here and he did us, right? He didn't come over and attack us with force. He weaved this and worked and wiggled his way in bed with us. That's how he did it. Just how he did the Venetians. Just how he did the Mongolian Empire, which was their first assault, where they learned a lot of the tactics that they used, even the Civil War tactic, where they was because you got to understand, right after the empress and them got the land, they ran the Civil War. And they ran, if you study the Dred Scott case and the William Dungy case, it happened right after that case. Right after the case with the Turners versus U.S. Corps, the William Dungy case happened, where they was trying to label him as black, and then Lincoln ended up winning for him. He was actually a foreigner though; he was from Portuguese, but just the state of they was trying to label everybody as black right after the Empress and them won that land. They was reclassifying us so they can steal our land, and so you notice 2 years later they came back with that game, but they had the William Dungy case and the Dred Scott case was going on during that time, where they labeled Dred Scott as black so they can they was reclassifying all of us so they can steal our land right after the Louisiana Purchase. I'm telling you, man. Labeling us as black, Negroes, and colored. That way we are chattel property and we have no rights. We're not heirs no more. We're being stripped of our nobility. They were stripping us all of our nobility. That's really, if you go look at the time frame of when that case happened, 1848, and then look at the Dred Scott case when it happened, look at the William Dungy case when it happened, correlate those two cases and what happened with the black, Negro, and color thing. And then if you notice, right after that, they ran the Civil War. It was all about stealing the land. The Civil War was about stealing more land and reclassifying us. Because right after the Civil War, they ran the Freedmen's Bureau, where they said that, y'all slaves, and now we're gonna free y'all. That's a bunch of game. They never did free no slaves, and we never were slaves. That's the killer. We never were slaves. They never freed any slaves because we never were slaves. If they freed any slaves, they talking about the Slavics, the white convicts who came over with the King George the First and them son of. They're not talking about us. So they ran the Freedmen's Bureau, and they ran the Juneteenth thing, where they was creating all these storylines about us being enslaved and coming from Africa. They started creating all these storylines, and so because they couldn't just tell us we were black. They had to tell us we were black and then misdirect us to a whole nother country. That was the game. I'm telling you, man. So now all the shit is coming out. All the shit is coming out about how a lot of the shit they telling us ain't adding up. Y'all trying to pay. They playing us like we was in thongs and spears and they just came over and we was easy for the takings. Nah, man. Y'all, they came with more sophisticated methods of infiltration. And it was ways, they came in different ways of infiltration, not just coming over, they pull out their gun, get down, give me your land, and we're going to blow you out. Nah, bro. They came down, what you got here? Can I come in? You got to invite the devil in. We invited the vampires in. Go back and watch the vampire movie. You got to invite them in your house. They can't just come in. We invited the vampires in. They weaved and finagled their way in and bite down into our veins. They bit down into our bloodline. They tied it to our vine. They got in bed with that's when how can't you win like that when the devil's your wife? She got in bed with you. Or the devil's your husband. He got in bed with you, and your kids are now part devil because you got in bed with the devil. How do you get out of it? When the devil is a part of your family, how do you get out of it? So, yeah, man. So just keep in mind that's what we wanted to really bring you. They came with the double cross. They came with the cross. They ain't come with no guns. They had guns, but we had guns too, though. They trying to lie and tell you that we didn't have guns and that all of these these different Moors was giving guns to these different tribes. Nah, they were giving guns to these Siberian Slavics. They didn't have the guns. Siberian Slavics didn't have guns. We, the Moors over here, we already had guns, bombs, dynamite, all that, plutonium. Yeah. We was already blowing up openings in caves and digging tunnels. The Tartarian people is the one that gave us the dynamite and TNT and C4, which is really TNT, another form of it. Yeah, so we had we had all this shit already, man. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them we can't let them start us. They're trying to start us from a savage, a slave narrative, savage, primitive narrative when that's so far from the goddamn truth. That's way too far from the truth. Now that we find out what we found out, it's 2026, man. The truth is rolling out full blast, right? And we're gonna be live tonight with Rod, man, on at 9 o'clock. Meeting at Big Mama's house, part 9. We got some stuff we're gonna go over tonight. Notice the agent is notice the principal. But we're gonna keep you up. Yeah, they parasitic, man. They some parasitic guys, and now the spell is being lifted. You can feel it. The spell is the spell of us being asleep and not knowing who we really were, and our true history is being lifted, man, every day. We tearing the devil limb by limb every single day. We ripping them apart, right? We ripping them apart. How are we ripping them apart? We ripping them apart by spreading the gospel. What is the gospel? The undeniable truth. The undeniable truth, man. We put out the undeniable truth right now. Because it sound right and it makes sense. The story they gave us didn't sound right. We wasn't no damn slaves. We were prisoners of the war. That's right. The Tank Dog. Shout out that boy Tank Dog. Right? That's my cousin name. And that's my stepson name, Tank Dog. Hey, yeah, man, that's what we wanted to bring to you. The Marco Polo game. Go watch that tape I just put out about Marco Polo, because that gives you the first wave of their timeline where they begin to start to rob everybody and set up these fictitious monetary take up what of Black Venetians. And we got a tape on the Black Venetians too in the descriptions in the links on that other tape, the Marco Polo tape. The next tape I'm about to put out is Christopher Columbus Diaries, and I should have it done by the day. If not, I'll drop it tomorrow. The Christopher Columbus Diaries, what he wrote about the when he came over, he saw us playing with rubber balls. He saw how tall we were. He said that we were dark skinned, but in his language, he called it indigo. That's how we get the Indian. And also Indian translated into those without God. Indigenous people, those without God. But we had a God, but it's from a Christian perspective saying that we didn't have a Jesus that they created in 325 AD in the Nicene Council. This game, right? But we ain't going for no more of the games. Yeah, so, and we ain't going for no more of their smiles. Tank Dog, we ain't going for no more of their smiles and their lies. Because smiling faces tell lies. And I got proof. I'm telling you, man. Smiling faces tell lies. Now, ain't that the truth? Hey, free Malachi Z. York, man. We out. Wadu. Never have it been made so clear.